was a young man from Ireland arrived in England and finished up working for my somebody's coming in.
That's the Airbnb.
Huh?
Airbnb.
Oh, right. Yes, he finished up working. Yes, it is. I can see them. She's very small. He finished up working for them, and then he married one of the daughters.
Okay.
And that was the start of the Kennedy name.
In England.
In England, not my Kennedy name, which was a young, poor Irish immigrant who married the daughter of the people he was working for.
Right.
And they were farmers. The Kennedy side were farmers really, and some of them were quite serious farmers as they went on.
Yep. But
they were never very well educated. They didn't seem to believe in education. They thought education was handling a farm, handling a fork, handling this, that, and the other. Because my son, that I used to spend a lot of time, who lived on the farm near Stillington.
You said your brother or your son?
Pardon?
You said your son. What do you mean? No.
Well, he was the son of. My father was George Kennedy. There was 3 Kennedys.
Oh, his brother, George's brother.
George's brother had a farm, a big one.
Okay.
500 acres.
Okay.
Acres? Yes. And he had a son the same age as me. And when I was there during the war, I used to go there a lot because it was safer.
Right.
And I would sleep with him really. And he couldn't read or write, and he never could. It was terrible. And so bright in other ways, but his father said, "You don't need. You're here. We're working on the farm. That's what you're doing. You don't need to read or write." And it didn't help him at all because. He married. I didn't really see the marriage, but he married. He was happily married, and then his wife died sadly. And he was when I saw him last. He had got a job because they sold the farm, and at one stage he had £1 million in the bank.
Really?
From the farm, but they couldn't decide how to deal with it. They had no idea, and. It was sad because it was a good farm. It was a fantastic farm that was very well run, but there was no education involved.
Mm.
But he ran it very well. But he had one tractor, and the rest of them were horses,
yeah.
Quite large horses that could pull heavy weights, and he had a very big mixed farm. So he had wheat and barley and all that sort of stuff, and cows and sheep and pigs and goats, everything you could imagine. It was a very intensive farm and doing extremely well. And during the war, they used to. We even had some German prisoners come to help us collect the harvest. And when they came, the girls were hidden. I don't think the German prisoners. I thought they were pleased to be there.
I'm sure they were.
Working and getting some free food.
Yes. Yeah.
But it was very sad because he was a good farmer, but he was terrible at looking after his own family. He had an illegitimate, or his wife had an illegitimate child, and that child was embraced by the father, but everybody else didn't like him because he was illegitimate.
Yeah.
But I liked him. He was a very nice man, a different personality to the Kennedys. He was kind, soft. The Kennedys were rough and tumble. Yeah, it was very sad. But during the war, I was born in 1930, and in 1938 was it
The war broke out.
war broke out? Yes.
So you were 8 years old.
Yeah, I was often moved to spend time on the farm because it was bad. I remember one night we were watching the bombing taking place. This farm was called Bewley Hill, so it had a magnificent view of Teesside.
Okay.
Teesside was where there was steelworks, shipbuilding, chemicals. It was a very industrial target.
Right.
And so it had frequent bombings, yes. And this particular night, it was particularly strong. We had a big shelter on the farm, but we also had shelters in our garden in Stillington, no, not Stillington, in Grangetown. Everybody had a shelter in the garden.
You were born in Stillington and you moved to Grangetown.
I spent a lot of time at Grangetown. It wasn't a very nice place to be, but I didn't realise that at the time. It was home to me at the time, so everything was fine. But it got bombed quite a bit. We got a bomb in our garden, which didn't explode.
That's lucky. Do you think you'd be here now if it did?
I wasn't there at the time.
Okay.
It didn't explode,
Yes.
and it was taken out. But that was one of five bombs that landed, because they used to be in patterns of 5, bum, 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 bum. And the others had killed people on the way through, but we managed to survive all that. Well, I had some interesting times because of it was quite exciting living there. During the day we had a lot of people, a lot of soldiers and stuff around us, because we were so close to all of these high quality targets for the Germans.
Yeah.
And I went to school at Grangetown. I remember going to the junior school, and I remember not liking to have my hands washed because she was a bit rough, or wash my face because she was a bit rough. And then we went to the senior school, and they decided, I think it was the Labour Party mainly, had decided, why don't the children from this particular school ever get a degree or ever get a percent, why is it? Well, let's take 6 of them and we'll send them to a grammar school.
And you were selected?
I was one of the people selected, so I went to this grammar school in Redcar, which was a very old grammar school, yeah, and a very good one. And
so how old were you when you went to the school, the grammar school?
I would be about 13.
Okay. Yep.
And I know I hadn't got very good clothes to go in.
That didn't matter.
No, it didn't. But I was very poor going to this grammar school, and that's the grammar school there.
Oh. And
I was very good at sport. I wasn't bad at other things, but I was particularly good at sport.
Okay.
But I didn't like the homework. My living at home, it wasn't a good environment for somebody that had to do homework.
Get a picture of the school.
Do you understand that?
I do. I didn't like homework.
What?
I didn't like doing homework either. So this is the school.
Oh yes.
So what's it called?
Cotham Grammar School, yes.
And that's you there.
Yeah, but bottom right. I finished up the school tennis champion, the first school tennis champion after the war, which was good for me because I was very good at tennis. And the man on my right was the Reverend W.D. Arnon Williams. He was our padre at the school, and he became very important to me later in my life when I needed help.
What did you need help with?
Well, I left school. I got my school certificate, but I wasn't very good at learning, and I couldn't stand. I decided that I would leave.
Right.
So this was in where are we, 50 something, 40 something. Anyway, I decided to leave the school, but having decided that, I was called up, as everybody was.
When you say called up?
For the army.
Right.
And I finished up in the army. And the first thing, I put my name down for the engineers, but they changed it to something else, which I didn't particularly like. And I had to go into the army, and my very first night in the army, there were 30 of us in this one room. One chap from Scotland, me, and the rest were from London, from all Cockneys. They all worked in the fruit markets and things. And I was the only one with pyjamas.
What were they wearing?
And the first hey, look at it! You've seen that, lads?
What? Flash?
Anyway, I was only with them for a short time because I was interviewed by a young officer. He said, "You're in the army now. What would you like to do?" And he had my record of my education, which was good. By comparison, everybody else was quite good. I said, "Well, I'd like to be an officer like you." So he had to write down I had to be an officer, and I finished up being transferred from all my mates from London into another class of young men who wanted to be officers, and I spent several months with them, learning all the things that we needed to consider when we went to what is known as the War Office Selection Board, which lasts for several days, where people are judged.
Right, put through their paces.
Put through their paces. Are they suitable to be officers?
Yes.
Well, I went to that, and
what was the answer? Yes.
Well, the answer was it was quite intense, and that's when my voice changed. You know, we were talking about did I speak English?
Yes. I
stopped speaking like a northerner because I was now living with people from other parts of England and people who had a lot of good education.
And you were 18 at the time, or
how old were you? No, I wasn't 18. I was 17, I think.
Okay.
17, and so we were waiting to go to this War Office Selection Board, and we knew that we were going to be tested on all sorts of things.
Yes. And
one of them was how you spoke, how you phrased things, and we went on this, and one of the first things that when we got on the War Office Selection Board was they showed us a series of obstacles, and each obstacle had a number of points associated with it, and we were given 3 minutes to get through the obstacles to amass as many points as you could possibly amass.
Sure.
And they were very interesting. Some of them were easy, some of them were very hard, some of them were impossible. But I did it, and I don't remember doing this. I was so fast, and I ripped my fingers open by sliding down ropes and things.